Dalton Schultz signs with the Texans after all of the chatter, and Saquon Barkley looks like Texans are the favorite to acquire him. Let's take a look at everything going on in another live stream inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Be sure to like, subscribe, right along, which many of you were today at 10 o'clock. We were having a discussion about Dalton Schultz. A real funny moment. I was kind of warming up to the possibility of moving on from Dalton Schultz. And look, I said this in the moment. The market was not awesome for Dalton Schultz when it came to the tight end position. Dalton Schultz last year was a bargain. This year, you're going to have to pay max value if you wanted to keep him because of how slim the tight end free agent market was. We know what Dalton Schultz's strengths are. We know what his weaknesses are. And we also know that CJ Stroud loves him, which might be the thing that matters the most. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Michael, he's in Missouri. I appreciate you, my friend, for joining the party. But this was a funny moment today on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610 on the Odyssey app. I actually even gathered myself and was like, man, why am I all of a sudden out on Dalton Schultz? What is going on here? We were talking about it on the air, and this is just kind of what it looked like as we were speaking on this this morning on Sports Radio 610.
Is you wonder, and he might be what he is at this point, but you wonder with Dalton Schultz, are you going to get the same or are you going to get worse? Because I don't see how Dalton Schultz gets better at blocking, and the receiving is what it is, which is really, really good. Really good.
Yeah.
But is it great? Like it's
that's where I'm prioritizing everything.
Like it's now. There's not much explosiveness to it. It's always seems like he's just open. Maybe that's a skill. Same. I guess Travis Kelce has that same skill, but I don't know.
Just wait for it.
Why am I so out on Dalton Schultz? What happened?
No, that's what I've been saying.
No, I'm serious. Like I get it with people. Like I don't. I think I'm out on Dalton Schultz because now all of a sudden he's becoming overrated.
Maybe
$12 million.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Kelce makes 14.
I don't mind the $12 million.
Travis Kelce makes 14.
Okay, but that's a longer term deal. $12 million for 1 year versus 36 or 37 million for 3 years. That's where I keep coming back to. That's what I keep coming back to.
All right, we'll see what happens. Tag deadline today. I don't anticipate Dalton Schultz being franchise tagged, but Stranger Things. Speaking of tags, I want you and Figgy to play this game for me. Good tag, bad tag.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a list of tags, and you want me to tell. I want you to tell me if this is a
now
good
we're
tag
trying
or
to
a
kind
bad
of branch
tag.
away.
Okay.
We don't know what's going on.
Toll tag.
Oh, love it. Love it. Man, that saved me so much time over the years.
It's good, but it's also bad too, man. I got like an ongoing beef with the toe tag people, man.
Wow.
Wait for it.
What is that?
Yeah,
What's your beef?
Yeah, so they not taking the money out of my account. So months later, when I'm thinking they taking the money
Get a
out,
giant bill.
yeah,
That's
that keep
happened.
happening, man.
Yeah, that's happened to me. You got to go
I'm
on their
looking.
website.
I think
get
it's a
breaking
scam,
news
and
alerts
that's
on
a
my
scam
computer.
too, man.
Yeah.
Because I tried to go
You
to
can see
pay
right
it,
here. So
and the website was down.
Pulling back the curtain, like when I'm running the show and I'm looking on that computer, a lot of times I'm Figgy's across from me, and I'm a guy who I cut my own audio, and a lot of times I'll tell Figgy, and you'll see it on the stream. I'll say, hey, play this. So I have the audio, I have the rundown, and I have news up there, and I'm seeing the Dalton Schultz news as this is going on, and this is where you just get the full reaction after talking about possibly not signing him.
All right, sounds
The
like a
website
personal-
was down?
Sounds like a
Yes, the
personal-
website was down, so I could not pay my outstanding bill.
Okay.
Dang.
By the way, right on cue.
Here we go.
Hit the damn breaking sound. This is perfect right here. There you go.
Sports Radio 610, Houston Texans breaking news.
Well, I had just moved on from him. Looks like Dalton Schultz is going to stay. 3 years, $36 million.
That's what I just said.
$23.5 million fully guaranteed. Dalton Schultz stays with the Houston Texans. $12 million a year. Okay.
I just said 3 years, $36 million.
Ends up being 23 mil guaranteed, but it was just kind of funny that we were talking about that. So let's get into the Dalton Schultz thing. I appreciate everyone for coming through. The tag deadline has expired. Shout out to Ian Rappaport for the news. I look, I think Dalton Schultz is a fine player. As I said there, I think the receiving's good. I think the blocking's not as good as they'd like. I think if this draft looked like last year's draft, I don't know that they give him this deal, and I don't know that he gets the deal. He didn't get it last year. And it's not like he had some sort of career year. He had a good year. He has good chemistry. So the pros and cons of Dalton Schultz are well documented. There's just a low risk nature of the contract, though, at the tight end position. I think it's similar to the running back position. You know, it's not like paying max value for a wide receiver that is at the top of the market, and maybe you end up paying over $20 million. You're paying $12 million. It's a 2-year deal, essentially 2-year commitment instead of 1. And it's a guy who CJ Stroud likes, and it's a guy who does some good stuff. Now, a lot of the problems, and the more you think about this could be a little bit of a deeper thing. I don't know that it's as much Dalton Schultz as it is they don't have guys that counter Dalton Schultz and his weaknesses. In other words, they don't necessarily have a really good blocking tight end on the roster. They have Andrew Beck, who moves around and plays fullback. They have Brevin Jordan. Hell, he was damn near a running back majority of his football career. So they don't, and Quitoriano can't stay healthy, and that's their tight end room right now. So they don't really complement Dalton Schultz's weaknesses as much as they could, and the market was what it was. But at the end of the day, $12 million might seem like a lot. Maybe if they really liked one of these other guys, they would have found, some way to option. But with all the talk that we've had about the extra money they have and stuff, if you're giving, an extra $2-3 million or whatever to a guy that CJ Stroud likes a lot, you could do a lot worse. It's not like a disastrous move. It's not going to set you back. He's going to be a serviceable player, and we'll see how it goes. And I also think that things could open up for Dalton Schultz if you improve the depth of the wide receiver group, which is I think one of their biggest problems right now. The depth at wide receiver, and you get some better running backs. But good for Dalton. He is a friend of the show. I'll have to joke about this next time we have him on, about me moving on from him. And I'm sure he'll F with me a little bit about it. But yeah, that's just the other side of it. And the breaking news came down right there. You can't really make that up. Now, does this prevent the Texans from perhaps, say, in a scenario where they're sitting in the draft and say that Brock Bowers falls down to 23? Does Dalton Schultz, does he prevent you from drafting Brock Bowers? Do you think he should? Would you rather go wide receiver? Do you think he prevents you from doing that? If you get to the 3rd or 4th round and Jatavian Sanders is there out of Texas or something, does that prevent you? I think it just kind of depends. In the 1st round, you're probably going to have a lot of options at a lot of areas of need. So I'm starting to, and Cody Stutes put this out on Houston Football, best $7 a month you'll spend daily content on the beat. Better than The Athletic, better than the Chronicle, better than all that. I'm starting to think this might be trade back season for the Texans. We saw the aggressiveness last year when they had the extra picks. This year, they don't have as many picks. So I think we could see trade back season. The Brock Bowers thing would be interesting for sure. The problem with Sanders, and I'm seeing Jerome Kicks bringing up Sanders. I love Sanders a lot. Love the young man. Love everything that he's about. How hard he works, how tough he is, how skilled he is. I like everything about Jatavian Sanders. The problem with him is I think his blocking is underrated, but you put him with Schultz and Jordan, there's not necessarily unless you want to look at Quintariano, and you can't really count on him. I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that or not. Although if it slides to the third or something, it could be a crazy thing. I'm not into trading up this year. I don't see anything that they need to trade up for. I'm more of a trade back guy this year. Not there at that. But so I do think they'll let the draft dictate what they do. And they'll be true to their board. But to put a bow on the Schultz thing, I think the market played into his favor this year. Last year, it probably hurt him a little bit. They like him. They're comfortable with him. And the limitations, there wasn't really like a much better option out there. So Dalton Schultz is here, and that's not the worst thing in the world. Even in the worst case scenario, it's not going to be a fall off type of situation, like where you're just like handcuffed or anything like that. And he's still going to be serviceable no matter what. The second year does kind of scare me a little bit, because I think Schultz seems like kind of guy that like every other year you might have an opportunity to upgrade, if that makes sense, or find someone to complement him better. But if you're paying whatever it is, top 10-ish to a tight end, do you look at it that way? It's still inside the window though of the CJ Stroud extension. It's really inside the Stingley as well, if you're looking at it as a 2-year commitment. So we'll see how it goes. Dalton Schultz coming back could do a lot worse than that. Other news with the Houston Texans. The Texans are now a strong possibility to land Saquon Barkley. They're the overwhelming betting favorite, like big time betting favorite. Now, I don't know what the hell this means. I think sometimes you can follow the money. In situations like this, I don't know if something's up. I don't know what's up, but this is Fox Sports, the graphic they got. The odds on Saquon Barkley's next team have the Texans at minus 200. Now, a lot of you guys are like, I don't bet. I'm not a degenerate like you slime ball. So why don't you explain that to me in English? Basically, minus 200 is not basically what it is if I go up to the window or I put in my phone how much I want to bet, I would have to bet $200 to get to win 100. So in other words, if I bet $200 and I rid myself of the 200, and then I go up to the window at the sports book, they'll give me 300 back, including my original 200. So $100 profit. But I would have to risk 200 to do it. So that means that there's really good odds there. Not good odds to bet on, but for some reason they think that's the favorite. Meanwhile, with the Chargers, if I gave $100 or bet $100 and I handed off the $100 and then he goes to the Chargers, I would get $375 back, because that 100 would win me $275. My original 100 plus $275. So that's basically what that means. Buffalo, you hand him $100 and he goes to Buffalo, you're getting $5,500 in profit. So the Texans are an extremely strong favorite to land Saquon Barkley. Do with that what you will. I do think, though, that the position of running back and tight end, I think it's very similar in that I don't think there's a ton of risk in being wrong. You're getting short-term deals with running backs. It's the most crowded free agent running back group of all time. So unlike wide receiver, tackle, defensive lineman, corner, even linebacker, especially if you're shopping at the top, running back's really not that risky. Now, some people will say, well, running backs get hurt. Well, so do wide receivers, so do tight ends. It happens. But let's say you get somewhere between what Saquon did 2 years ago and what he did last year, that's worth $11-12 million. Assuming that he stays on the field, assuming he's a viable receiving threat. If you get somewhere in between that, based on the impact, based on all the extra things he can do, it's worth that. And that's the frustrating thing to me about the running back position is I think people are talking about it and they're using old talking points to kind of justify their lack of ability to kind of progress with what the reality of a situation is. I've heard people say, and it is people. I'm not trying to pick on Sean Pendergast. I know they put videos up on Sports Radio 610 of him talking about it before, but I've heard some people say, well, the running back position, I would rather spend money on a defensive lineman or whatever. Dude, that's not even like the same tax bracket. Like signing Saquon Barkley should not prevent you from signing someone on defense. That doesn't really make sense. I saw the video with Pendergast. Let's see. I think it was on Twitter. I'm trying to find it. Just his thoughts on Saquon. And I don't think that this is I don't think that this necessarily fits with what the reality is of the current state of the run. All right, here was what Pendergast said, and this is on Sports Radio 610 Twitter. If you want to check it out, this is Pendergast talking about his Saquon Barkley notion. Let's hear this.
Wilson, KPRC2, says the headliner of the running back free agent class is New York Giants star Saquon Barkley, who has targeted the Texans as his top possible destination or top potential destination and has been communicating with C.J. Stroud per league sources. He could, of course, remain with the Giants there as GM Joe Schoen is holding talks with Barkley and with Barkley's agent. So on that Texans part of that, and again, we're in the smoke season here right now. So I'm going to take this for purposes of the question I'm about to ask. I'm going to take this at face value that Saquon Barkley has targeted the Texans as his top possible destination and is communicating with CJ Stroud that he wants to come here more than anywhere else. Yeah. My question to Saquon and those who back Saquon, and by the way, let me preface, I'm fine with Saquon Barkley being a Texan. I'm not fine with paying him $13 million a year over multiple years to be a Texan. I think there's other solutions out there at the running back position that make more sense for the Texans at that price. My question would be, if he wants to be here so damn bad, if he's communicating with CJ Stroud, why do the Texans have to pay him $13 million a year? Why wouldn't Saquon Barkley, if he wants to be here so freaking bad, take a discount to be here?
But because running backs are already discounted. They're already discounted based on the impact they make. Like what Saquon did 2 years ago, how much do you think that was worth? Because the Giants paid Daniel Jones, and there's already reports they're ready to move on, rightfully so. It never made sense for them to pay him. You've even had Kayvon Thibodeau come out and say, we should have paid Quan. Do I think Saquon Barkley should get like a 7-year deal? No. But based on the potential impact that he can make, how's that not worth $12, $13 million? An all-purpose back that can catch, run the rock, etc. Now, if you don't think he's that's fine. If you think it's someone else, then I think you can commit to that. But I also think they're going to bring back Singletary. But the running back position right now, the price has already dropped. It would be like if you go to a nice restaurant, like let's say there's an expensive ass restaurant, like right now. So here's where I'm at. And I'll try to present this to a minute of the people, because I think y'all are probably in the casual dining area as well. I'm sure some of y'all like to fine dine. But right now, whenever we argue about burgers, like whenever me and my boys, Figgy and Lopez, whenever we argue about burgers, we'll talk about Whataburger, and we'll talk about In-N-Out, and we'll talk about Burger King and all that type of stuff, like fast food places. You guys know the price range. And ever so often, someone will bring Five Guys into the conversation, or Steak Shack. I don't know when the hell, like, y'all last ate at Steak Shack or Five Guys. It ain't the same. It ain't the same price. Like, I mean, if we're just gonna go burger for burger, we can do that, but it ain't the same price. Okay. If you want to get like a large drink, large fry, or something like that at Steak Shack or Five Guys, you're paying more money. So I don't even want to bring them into the conversation when we're talking. Now, if all of a sudden Steak Shack and Five Guys decided, man, you know what? Our prices are too high. We gotta lower that price down. Matter of fact, we're going to be cheaper than Whataburger. We're going to be cheaper than In-N-Out. We're going to be cheaper than Burger King. We're going to be cheaper than these fast food spots. If I'm still sitting there talking about Five Guys and Steak Shack the same way that I was before they changed their prices and before the market changed, I'm the fool. I'm the one making the mistake there. It's become a cool thing to pile on running backs. And I think the league is smart with the way they're handling it. But if you look at the reason these guys are getting cut, in a lot of situations, it's because those teams have made mistakes with the contracts they've handed out at other positions, other more expensive positions. The Giants gave Daniel Jones that deal. Notice how the Indianapolis Colts, with Anthony Richardson on his rookie deal, notice how the Indianapolis Colts finally said, you know what? Jonathan Taylor's worth 3 years over $40 million. We saw it the last week against the Texans. He was best player on the football field. Texans got CJ Stroud on his rookie deal. I just don't know why Saquon would take less money when the money's already gone down. That's what I'm confused about. Now, do you think he's Christian McCaffrey? Maybe not. But San Francisco traded a lot for Christian McCaffrey. They don't regret it. They're about to move on from Ayuk, it looks like. So I just don't know why he would take less when he's already a bargain, if you think he's the same player that he was 2 years ago. If you think he's that, now, if you don't, that's another issue on itself. Unfortunately for you, unlike the tight end market, this is the deepest running back free agent group of all time. But if they like someone else, running back is not the position to get cheap at. It's not. There's plenty of positions to get cheap at. Christian Wilkins, 20+ million for 4 or 5, whatever years. Might want to take a closer look at that one. That's a 28-year-old defensive tackle getting his second deal. There's some pretty good defensive linemen in the draft. That's where you want to get cheap. That'll kill you. I mean, if he falls off like some of the defensive linemen have, that'll kill you. That'll kill you more than giving Saquon $10 million for a couple years. Running backs aren't getting long deals. They know that. They know what the market is. So that's just kind of where I'm at. You're not paying him what you would have paid him 3 years ago. The price dropped. Zay says, take a pay cut if you want to be here and prove it on a 1 year. He just played under the franchise tag. They're already taking cuts. If you want to penny pinch that type of position, that's fine. He isn't the only back you can get. Okay, is he the best? I mean, he isn't the only back you can get. All right, give me some names. Who's better? But if you say he's the best and then you want him to take a pay cut, then I think you're not looking at the impactful position. Give me some names. Giovanni, big Saquon guy I can see. Mr. Robot going to the Lopez thing. My goodness. Yeah, if I agree, if Saquon's going to be a serviceable running back and available, I don't look at that as a lot either. I don't get that. NJ Fuentes, Saquon's ceiling is ridiculous for 3 years, and the impact he could have as many times as he might touch the ball. It's okay to slightly overpay, especially in the situation you're in. It's not costly. Zay says Swift. He wants more than capable. Okay, you want more than capable. That's a hell of a sales pitch. That's amazing, dude. Yeah. Hey, it's more than capable. More than capable. You know, CJ's talking to him. The position's already down. You know, let's go get more than capable. You got to sell your guy a little bit better than that. If it is Motor and Swift, that means they like Swift. I don't think they're going to penny pinch the running back position. I don't think D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick coming from San Francisco are going to do that. So I think we're fortunately in that situation. And Nick Caserio never really did it. I know a lot of times New England didn't have the elite running back. They traded for Corey Dillon back in the day. They drafted Sony Michel in the first round when they had backs. So I don't think they're gonna penny pinch it. Zay, you're not watching film, bud. I'm gonna put you in timeout. I'm sorry. You're not watching. You watch the film. Come on, dog. I don't need the fake film stuff. I'm not watching film. I've sat with the guys like the Brian Broaddus up there at in Dallas that watch film. These guys going around the internet, and there's a lot of them saying that they're watching film because they're watching highlights. They don't even know how to get the access to it. Takes hours to do that. Some of these dudes are acting like they're watching Central Michigan receivers. That's a timeout, buddy. I want Saquon or Josh Jacobs. Yeah, whoever they like. Just don't penny pinch it. Just don't penny pinch it. How you know he ain't watching no film? Come on, bro. Dude ain't watching no film. Come on. You saw the film, bro. People say film. They're just you're watching YouTube highlights. Come on, dog. John Harris probably still watching tape right now. Absolutely crazy. So we'll see what happens with the running back position. But the Texans strong favorites to land Saquon Barkley. It is the Locker Room. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. I'll be on the air 10 o'clock Central per usual on YouTube, Twitch, all that on Sports Radio 610. So one of my bigger takes of this whole offseason is I think offense should be top priority. Based on what the market is, based on what I saw last year, and based on the layout of the roster. And you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other. Crossingham asked, would I trade 23 for Burns and pay him 30 mil plus? Hell no. I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. For me, I would not do that. But I think offense needs to be a priority. I know that they need some improvement on defense, but I think if you just look at the upside of a lot of your elite pieces, I think the jump that some of these guys can make on defense is such to where naturally I think your defense, like with the guys that you currently have, it's going to improve. I think it's going to take steps up from what it was last year. I think Will Anderson's going to be better. I think Derek Stingley's going to be better. I think Christian Harris is going to be better. So I think the arrow is pointing up for those guys. On offense, Nico's fine, Tank's fine, but they need more depth at wide receiver. They need more depth at wide receiver. They need more depth at running back. And they need to figure that out. They need to play better on the offensive line. Hopefully health naturally makes that happen. But if you watch the Texans last year, I mean, there were a couple times, and I know the defense got a lot of flack, specifically for like the Atlanta game where CJ and Schultz drew up that play after the 2-minute warning, and then the defense got, and same thing against Carolina. If you're running the ball better, if you're taking advantage of opportunities on offense, then you don't put yourself in that situation. Who knows how much different the Baltimore game looks if the offense is able to show a pulse. Only touchdown they scored was on special teams. They scored 3 points total in the game. Defense really kind of left it all out there. They eventually ran out of steam. I still think you're going to get pieces to make the defense better. But I don't necessarily think that defense is the issue. I think they need more playmakers on offense. I mean, if that means taking a wide receiver in the first round, I'm okay with it. Saquon, that's cheap. I mean, that's cheap relative to potential impact. But when we start talking about the Burnses, the Watkins, Queens, it's just kind of a lot. I also do wonder if the safety position is something they look at. We know they like Alabama players. What's the thought process on Xavier McKinney? And I think this is another position that's relatively cheap. Remember when the safety market just blew up? What was it, 4 off seasons ago? 5? I know Crossingham's good at this type of stuff. It was like 4 or 5 years ago that the safety, I mean, these safeties were getting broke off. I think day one of free agency. Broke off. And then you saw these guys start getting cut, and then the safety position, I don't think it's hit the point of the running back position, because I think any coach really values what a safety can bring to the table, especially a good one. But the safety position's kind of fallen off a little bit too. So Ward is going to be back. Someone brought up Ward. Ward's back. He's there. Petrie, what do they think of Jalen Petrie? Do they think that Petrie is now kind of a guy who you got to have an option that is at least beyond serviceable behind him? Do they want to try to significantly upgrade that position? I mean, this is another thing. Like if you're paying McKinney and Barkley top value, it's probably less than paying Watkins. And you're getting 25-year-old safety and a running back. Saquon and McKinney, we are not Giants South. I see you. Those are pretty good football players, though. You blame Daniel Jones for this. That would be funny, though. But you're talking about the safety position. I don't know where the safety position fits in. I could definitely see a situation where they like Xavier McKinney. Christian Wilkins, that's another one we keep bringing up. Watkins, I keep saying Wilkins. I mean Watkins, excuse me. I keep I'm messing up my dubs. Christian Wilkins. How am I mixing that up? Christian Watkins, excuse me. Where do we fit on Christian Watkins? Where are we at on that? Right. Christian Watkins, where are we at on that? I'm out on that. Yeah, I'm saying it right. I'm good. I need to quit. I need to quit listening to people. That's another time out. You guys be distracting me like Sean Pendergast got distracted today on the thing. Christian Wilkins. You guys correcting me on craziness. Christian Wilkins. Do y'all want to pay Christian Wilkins? Let's just throw out a number. Let's Let's throw out a 4-year, $90 million deal. How does that make you feel? Do y'all want to pay? Yeah, it said Wilkins and all that. I had it right. I'm telling you, I'm tripping. Might be a little, would y'all be down with Christian Wilkins? Jerome says pay him. Why not? Because it's expensive, man. And if you look over the course of history, these are the contracts that end up looking bad more times than not. It's max value. This is a type of deal. Like if you miss on a safety, if you miss on a tight end, if you miss on a running back, not as much consequence. This is a lot of consequence. How nice do you think he'll be? That's the real question. Too much bread. Y'all got me crazy on that. Wilson Watkins. Chris Jones. This is another name. Chris Jones probably be more expensive, probably 3 years. Market's set for him. 3 years. Chris Jones, you're taking away one of the best players in the NFL from the Super Bowl champs. We good on that or not? A lot of money. Got to think he re-signs with the Chiefs, though, right? They always seem to be able to make it work. They always seem to be able to make it work. So how do y'all feel about that? Calvin Ridley. He's going to be out there. He just put the peace sign up to Jacksonville. I don't know what that meant. Jacksonville franchise tag Josh Allen. Calvin Ridley's out there. That would probably be a no for me. I do wonder what the market's going to be. I think a lot of these free agent wide receivers, I think they're in for a rude awakening. I think they're in for a rude awakening. I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw with the tight ends last year, where there was a deep tight end draft. They test the market, and teams just don't really want to break bread for second, third tier guys, which is what Dalton Schultz is second tier tight end. So I do wonder what the Calvin Ridleys, the Hollywood Browns, the Gabe Davis. I do wonder what these guys are going to be getting, because the market might be real rude to them. And then maybe you get that opportunity. But I'm leaning towards wide receiver in the draft. I'm leaning towards trade down. But Christian Wilkins, I'm kind of good on that. If you're gonna go big, go with Chris Jones. Give me that. I like Wilkins. I like what he's made of, but man, give me Quan. Little open on Xavier McKinney. Next week, free agency is going to begin. We have the franchise tags laid out. The Colts, they're going to keep Michael Pittman Jr. Josh Allen's going to stay in Jacksonville. And the Tennessee Titans are just a non-factor right now. They're in a tough spot. I know that hurts a lot of people in here's feelings, but they're in a tough spot. I don't know where the hell they go from here. Lucky Redfish, your green take on the show is spot on. So basically, I listened to Jason Kelsey's press conference, and look, I don't think I don't think that Kenyon Green's going to be Jason Kelsey, but I just heard him talk about how much he sucked in 2016, how he would have traded himself, how no one wanted him around, and how he just basically went to the drawing board and worked on technique, worked on using his hands more. And from that point on, I think he said he made 5 All-Pros or whatever. I just wondered, could Kenyon Green play himself into being a serviceable interior offensive lineman? Just a little localized thought. Would I bet on it? Maybe not. But it was cool to hear, Kelsey just talk about how low things got for him and how much better they got when he really focused and he really bared down on the offseason. Jerome asks, shout out to Jerome, do wide receivers need depth or just a third guy? How many times JJ or Chase or CD come off the field? Look, I think you just need to try to get the best wide receivers possible. And that might sound like sitting on the fence, but for me, it wouldn't be the craziest thing if in the first couple of rounds the Texans found, and this is where it seems like one of the more polarizing things that I talk about on the show or here. And maybe it's a combination of many things. Maybe I'm trying to keep my guard up and be skeptical, but I could easily see a scenario where they draft a wide receiver that is in the same caliber, same type of player as Nico Collins or Tank Dell. I don't think that would be the craziest thing to happen. Hell, we were arguing about Tank Dell or Nico Collins during the season. Nico Collins has had one good year. Now, is the one good year that he had a quarterback, but I mean, he's had trouble staying on the field. This was his healthiest season, and he still missed a few games. Like, who's to say that Franklin, Mitchell, one of these guys might not produce at that same level? Tank Dell was a third-round pick. I go back to last year, and I remember when Dameon Pierce was being spoken about after 1 year, and it was almost like, hey, I wouldn't even consider Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs at any point. Now, Nico's had success in this system, but how good do you think Nico is? He's good. I think Tank's good. But they're not like, it's not like you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to where you're ignoring drafting a receiver. I don't think it's like that. I think if the opportunity's there, you can pounce on it. Seattle did it last year with Smith and Jigba. Back in the day, the Vikings had Chris Carter and Jake Reed. They drafted Randy Moss. Like, if wide receiver is there and there's an opportunity, I definitely don't think it's a position of strength. And I think when you go top to bottom of the room, I think it's actually a problem for sure. So yeah, I would definitely be open to it. Chris is asking, what are the big names Nick has signed before, including his time with the Patriots? We don't know that he was signing the guys, so I don't think it's like a fair way to assess Nick Caserio. And the Patriots situation was also a lot different. I mean, there were times where they made some trades, they made some low risk, high reward trades. But I mean, I don't like that. And I saw McLean do it. Now, I'll probably have McLean on the stream a little bit. I don't know that there's anything to correlate with Nick Caserio when it comes to like his tendencies or anything like that. The Patriots went through so many damn phases where they were and weren't signing guys. Didn't they? Most of their stuff was trading. They would sign a guy or two here or there, but there was a lot of development. Xavier Leggett, wide receiver from SC, is built like Andre Johnson. There's always someone built like Andre Johnson, right? Don't we hear that a lot? If Xavier Worthy is there, we got to take him. I like X. I watched every play of his college career. I don't think he's a first-round guy. Look, that speed kills, playmaking. If they change these kickoff rules, I do wonder how much more that helps a guy like Worthy who can return punts and this kickoff in the open field, all that. I just don't. I don't know that Xavier Worthy is. I don't like him as much as Mitchell. I like him. I don't like him as much as Mitchell. I know that. I mean, whatever else is there, I think he ends up being like one of these. I hate to say it, like late first round guy. He's either going to be someone that someone's just going to take extremely early because of the speed, or he goes like right on the back end of the first round, and he ends up on a squad that is like the ideal scenario, and he's just making big plays. But I don't think he's I'm not as high on him. And again, I watched him every single play that he ever played at Texas. I think he's fine. I wouldn't have taken him in the first round. I thought maybe he would be in the second round, but I mean, when you break the record at the combine for the 40, I'm not assuming that you're going to be around in the second round. When you have a QB like CJ, shout out to Dominic. When you have a QB like CJ who can drive the ball with accuracy and throw for touch, I just don't think we need a wide receiver at the first pick this year. For that, what does that mean? I don't get that. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Although sometimes it's just kind of natural, and I apologize for that. What does that mean? I'm confused. So if your quarterback can throw the ball well and accurately, you don't think you need a wide receiver? This year prove that? Different strokes for different folks, sir, or ma'am, whatever. But I think this year proved that they need depth at wide receiver. When Tank left, the offense took a major step back. There were times where Nico wasn't there. The offense wasn't the same. Noah Brown missed half the season. John Mechie wasn't able to be consistent. Xavier Hutchinson wasn't able to make plays. And you might have actually had to depend on Dalton Schultz too much at times. And he was perhaps not able to be utilized as much. So I don't know what that means, man. If you want to elaborate, that's fine. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm trying to be as interactive as possible. When you have a QB like CJ that can throw with touch, I don't think wide receiver is a need at the first pick. This year proved that. Okay. So if a quarterback's good, then a wide receiver can get open is less. I'm confused by that. People want CJ to play hero ball and think because he's good that we can be satisfied and get by with bumps. Maybe that's what it is, but I also think that's a dangerous line of thinking, and I think we should have the biggest grasp of that than anyone. And I think you're referring to depending on your quarterback too much and just thinking he can save all butts. No matter what, we don't have to put the best offensive line in front of him because he can make the offensive line better. We don't need to give him receivers because he can make the receivers better. We don't need an elite run game because he can get it done. Local guy right down the street, Andrew Luck. Indianapolis Colts are still suffering because they just thought that he could overcome the offensive line. So we'll focus on something else. He could overcome lack of a running game. So you put that off. I don't know. I don't understand the I don't want to take for granted what CJ is and not give him as many weapons as possible. I think they need to just get in position to where, because I don't think you're far away from being a top 10, top 5 offense. I really don't. If you take advantage of this running back market, and does that mean spending the most money? Not necessarily. They know a hell of a lot more about scouting than I do, than I ever will. And I actually trust them to do it right. This isn't your old Houston Texans. This isn't your older brother or younger uncle's Houston Texans. I'm talking about like when your uncle's like 12 years older than you or whatever. I think they can evaluate it right. If they evaluate this wide receiver opportunity from the free agents to the draft prospects, along with the running back position, along with other holes, and naturally you're getting bodies back on the offensive line, I don't think this is too far from being a top 5, top 10 offense. And I didn't even mention the quarterback there. We already know what he did in year 1. And then on defense, you have a lot of guys with the arrow pointing up. You have a defensive-minded coach, and you still have assets to where you can improve that. But if you're satisfied with these receivers, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's a lot of faith in the wide receivers. Lots. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think they have to be married to either thing. There's enough, like, for as close as we talk about the Texans are, there's enough holes on this squad to where I don't think we're just talking about three. I mean, there's running back, receiver. I mean, if there's an opportunity to improve at guard, maybe they jump on it. D-line, both on the edge and the interior. You need a second corner for Stingley. Probably need to figure out the backer situation. Maybe you want to upgrade at safety. You know, I don't think we're there yet where it's, hey, we need this. Eventually you might get to a point where you're kind of leaning towards more drafting for need. I don't think they're there. They got a lot of holes to fill. Fortunately, they got a pretty decent foundation, starting with the QB and some of the other stuff they got, but they'll have to figure that out. They still got to figure out the kicker and punter thing. I see someone asking. Haven't done that yet, and both of those guys are pretty high up on that. So we'll see how it is. I'm down with the prove it corner. I'm down with the prove it LB. For sure. Find the next Steven Nelson. That's the thing that I think Nick Caserio deserves a hell of a lot of credit for. I mean, he did a good job finding Steven Nelson 2 years ago. Getting 2 great years out of Steven Nelson, more than you could expect. Do that again. He did a good job last year letting the market play out and then looking at Dalton Schultz, deciding to bring in Sheldon Rankins. Do that again. Do that in this market. Do it at a higher level. More people want to play here. You're not just bringing in guys that are coming in on 1-year deals out of desperation. Guys who have options. That Houston's up there near the middle, top of the list of where they want to play. Do that again. I think that's some of the moves that Nick Caserio's made there. I mean, you've done a hell of a job with that. A couple of these day 2 guys that he's gotten, they look good. These second-tier free agents, we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know if the market speaks to Xavier Howard. I think it's pretty well set in stone what he's going to get. I'm sure he's probably, if I had to guess, I would say, what is Xavier Howard looking for? 10 mil maybe? I don't know. I don't know what they think of X. That would be interesting. But we'll see how that goes. For sure. Xavier McKinney getting some more love. It's fun times, guys. It really is. It really is fun times. When I started this stream, when finally got the go to be able to do it, Lovie Smith was the coach. Davis Mills was the quarterback. Sucked. Never stopped being consistent though, but it sucked. Things have turned around very quickly. Got to stay level-headed on this. There's a long process. We're through the tag period. Next week free agency starts. We'll be streaming every night. We'll be reacting to all the signings. You guys know I'll be on Sports Radio 610. When live news breaks, by the way, I'll need to go right to Sports Radio 610 right here on YouTube. Because of that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And it'll be fun, man. Be really fun. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Appreciate the interaction. We got a lot of time ahead of us. A lot of fun times, hopefully. A lot of arguing. Still confused by that CJ wide receiver comment, but appreciate you for coming through, my man. Don't shy away from asking questions. We just have some fun with you, or I do. But hell, these people, what are we, 270 now? 270. They might have agreed with you. I I would say 95% of y'all probably said, you know what? Texans don't need receivers because CJ can throw well. Y'all probably thought I was crazy the way I was talking. Appreciate you for coming through. Be sure to please subscribe, like, right along. When news breaks, I got you covered, whether it's here on the Digital Game or on Sports Radio 610. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate you.
You know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give. We got